Skilly do bamba di bamba bum, rip up de go ingedi, skilly do bamba di bamba dum, araptush bum diggy bum de bo, skeetin scattin, skilly do bamba, skippa da bibi bigado. This is your good buddy Djclyve, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy. Remember that? I bet you a great majority of the people do not remember those old Popeye cartoons that the animation was so horrible. It would just be like the top half of them was completely still, just one animation cell, and his bottom half was just walking very, very slowly. And I'm going off on a tangent that maybe I don't need to. I'm going to go over the final 2 projects in the bit character profiles that I've been doing in the interim between now and the Ranma Saotome profile. Right now we're watching the Yokihi, or the Yangui Fei, however the heck you pronounce that, profile. A profile that a lot of people had requested, but those are in my old archives, and this was a character I never planned on doing. So to all those fans who requested this character, I deeply, humbly apologize that you did not get the credit you deserved for the shout out. But unfortunately, I have no idea how to go through my old records, and sometimes it takes forever just to go through, like, video by video all the requests that are there. So I always miss people, no matter what. This character is more commonly referred to as the bra monster, I've noticed by the fans out there and all the people who requested. Even on the Furinken website, the official website of RANMA 1/2, she's referred to as the bra monster. But I had to do some digging because they did say her name aloud multiple times in the anime, and I wanted to make sure I spelled it correctly and pronounced it correctly. And to do that, I had to watch the subtitled version of the episode, and in the subtitles, she's referred to as Yangui Fei. So that's why I included that name as part of her character. But as I did some more digging online, not only did I find out the proper spelling of her name, but I found out that this character actually is not a character. This is a real-life person. And the whole thing with Emperor Xuanzang, that wasn't mentioned in the anime, the English dub, but it was definitely mentioned in the subtitled version. So what I didn't realize when I was going into this was that I was heading into yet another Yamato no Orochi type profile, where I was going to have to go onto Google and get a lot of still images of, like, historic events. And this is a profile that matured as I did it. The idea started simplistic, and it blossomed into something a lot bigger. Actually, let me stop myself and rewind this profile a tick and call to attention something that, a little minor problem that I had that I really had to skate around. This scene here, watch as the bra goes onto Hapasai's face, and watch the screen above Hapasai's head flicker a little bit. See? That was some very discreet patchwork on my part. There was something wrong with my DVD which caused it to pixelate in the high, like, the right-hand side of the screen right there. But that was way too integral a scene for me to leave out. So what I had to do was I had to split screen it, and I had to overlap the prior scenes of Hapasai trying to get that bra off where it wasn't pixelated. So I was just overlapping 2 videos at once, and you don't even see it if you don't really look for it. So now you know, and it really sucks when that happens, but my DVDs are really starting to get old. A lot of them are scratched, and a lot of them won't even play right now. So I hope there aren't, like, integral clips that I need that are lost forever. I guess I could hit up Jara for them if I really need them, but it's still annoying. So anyway, on with the profile. You might notice the different style of this profile. This is a style that I actually wanted for the Konatsu Kunoichi profile, but that profile was a major production as it was, and maybe it didn't really need it. I think this, the margin animation here really helps this profile stand out, because this profile probably wouldn't have stood out if it didn't have some kind of hook. And let me tell you, it's not exactly difficult, but it sure is annoying to do margin animation, because here you are, you've already finished your profile, and you're like, you just want to fire it off onto YouTube. It's pretty much there in visual form, but then you got to make another movie and just overlap one movie on top of the other, and it's just so annoying because it's so time consuming. And you're like, the profile is done already, but still all this work's got to go into it. And it's almost like you're making like its own separate mini movie in the background. So it's almost like twice the amount of work for something so simple. So yeah, this profile, had its little annoyances, but for the most part, I was able to fire this one off pretty quickly. I did hit kind of a groove with this one, and the beginning of this profile was especially difficult, not so much in execution, but just trying to figure out how to present that material, because the history of this character was never covered in the anime, and you just have to try to find some kind of visual representation of that. So I did a lot of still images from the anime, green screened a lot of things, put a lot of like silly visual effects on there, and of course did a lot of Google image searches. I also went to the library and I rented out a bunch of like old samurai movies, and unfortunately I was never able to find what I wanted. I wanted to find like a city under siege, like just kung fu in the streets and people just rioting and knocking stuff over, looting, but I was never able to find this footage, so I just had to replace it with like scenes from The Last Samurai and Crouching Tiger and stuff like that, just to fill the void, but I don't think it really fit, unfortunately. But it was a quick clip, and I'm sure nobody will care so much. I don't think people out there realize just the amount of repetition that goes into making these profiles, especially when you're dealing with such rinky-dink equipment as mine, where you do something perfectly and then you try to export it to a file and then there's all sorts of problems there that the file created and that you didn't. But yeah, this was a tough profile to have to go back and watch and watch and watch and just like rewind and just... I guess it's my fault for going scary and disturbing all the time, but it really starts to get to you after a while when you're listening to this creepy music and listening to me talk like a snake. By the way, that's Audacity again, me doing the voice effects there. But oh yeah, the Tensai theme, I forgot about this. Funny story behind that. I had really no idea going into this profile what kind of music I was going to have in the background. I definitely wanted it to be like Chinese, Japanese sounding, a lot of twangy sitars, stuff of that nature. And the one thing that I definitely wanted in the profile was the Lord Tensai theme from WWE Wrestling. This is big fat guy. He used to go by the name of Albert. He had a lot of piercings and a lot of body hair, but he changed his image and now he's like got tattoos and he's all Japanese, and of course he loses all the time. He's like the ultimate jobber, but that's besides the point. He had some pretty kick-ass theme music, so I went to iTunes and I purchased it for 99 cents, hoping to use it in the background of that entire opening. But unfortunately, the whole song, there's a guy screaming in the background going, and he's just like, it's so distracting, I couldn't talk over it, and I couldn't be heard over this guy screaming. So I couldn't use it, and I just wasted my money, and I had to come up with a whole new plan for the beginning. And that was not fun. So I decided to just cram it in at the end just so it wasn't a total loss. But yeah, that's the story of that. Unfortunately, when you're recording these things and you're scoring background music, you gotta really watch out for songs that have background vocals or any kind of speaking, because I wouldn't exactly call those background vocals in the Tensai song, because your dialogue can get lost in their dialogue and it just becomes a complete mess. And speaking of a complete mess, we move on to the next part of the bit character profiles. This is the Kengyu the Herder Star profile, and this profile I like to refer to as one of the worst fucking experiences of my life. This is probably the most annoying profile I've ever put together, and you people who are stumbling upon this now, you're in for a treat, because I haven't posted this one on YouTube yet because it's being such a shit bitch to put out. It's all finished, it's there in visual form, you can watch it in the window, but I'm still having problems with it. And let me put it this way. Picture, if you will, you have this idea in your head for a gorgeous diorama, and you have like all sorts of different like disparate elements that go into it, and some of them are going to be really time consuming to put together, but nothing too difficult. But nonetheless, you put the hard work in to make it look good, and all you have to do is glue all those pieces together, and you've got this gorgeous, like, presentation. But then you find out after the fact that the glue does not work, like you're dealing with really shitty glue, and every time you try to glue two pieces together, they fall apart. That's basically what this profile was. Just so many little pieces that should have worked, but if not for my dumb computer, and that's right, I just mentioned not too long ago that I got a new computer. If not for my dumb computer, this would have been a very easy profile to put together. But I think that this computer is not powerful enough to deal with my software. I suppose we should pick this one apart piece by piece. Right now we're watching the very complicated opening sequence, where I had to draw my own pictures to tell the story of Ori and Kengyu. I already used all the existing Google images out there, so I had to come up with some brand new way of presenting this material, and it was very, very difficult. Drawing the pictures was no problem, although you can see my style changes back and forth. Originally, I wanted it to come across as a children's drawing, so I used nothing but crayons, but when I was doing like simple things like characters' faces, the black would always smear into the flesh color, and I'd end up with this big black like smeary mess. So you can see my style changes to a more coloring book kind of style, where I used a black permanent marker to outline, and then I used the crayons to color in. So yeah, but that was a pretty easy sequence to do. I mean, very piecemeal. I had to put a lot of tiny little pieces together. But Avid Studio, and yes, this is Avid I'm talking about. This is the one that always worked for me. Tried and true Avid Studio. It screwed with me every step of the way. It wouldn't accept, well, sometimes it would accept PNG images, so I could just like cut them out in Print Shop and just like transfer them that way. But other times, just completely at random, it did not. So what I had to do to avoid that was I had to take my drawings and green screen them, like I did with the old Crepe King Joe profile. I just greened in the background. It's just a lot more time consuming to do it that way. But that was just the start of my problems. Coming up, there's a scene where the music just kind of slips. For whatever reason, when I put this whole thing together, I just made it into a bunch of mini movies because I knew that Avid was not going to be able to handle all the special effects that went into this. And I just make them as normal movies and I plug them end to end, and that way, in the end, it's a very simple file that Avid can handle it. But for whatever reason, there is a slip in the music that comes up right here where I had to put some more Tron music in the background that really did not fit. So you get this music that plays for about like 8 seconds or so, and then it rapidly switches to a different music. And that is totally not my style. Maybe some viewers looked at it and just did not notice, but totally it really bugged me. I have no idea why that happened or how it happened, but that is just one of many problems. One of the major hiccups that I had to dance around in this profile was the fact that my computer is equipped with this stupid Intel graphics card, which is good for jack shit. And my old one had a NVIDIA, I think it's called, and it was able to handle all sorts of special effects. And my Avid Studio has all these like fade effects and like lots of cool like space effects that I could have used, like satellites and solar systems and stars and stuff like that I had no access to. They would have been gravy in this profile, but because of my graphics card, they did not work. I'd say a good 90% of the effects that I used to have access to, I no longer have access to now. There's a part in the beginning where I mentioned the ever-sparkling Milky Way. It was my intention to put a sparkle effect on the background there to make it look like the stars were twinkling a bit. And of course, that's the ProDad effects on my Pinnacle software. I have no access to those because of my graphics card. By the way, this scene right here, Mugen, I've never played a game of Mugen in my life. I had to make this scene together with clip art and, of course, a green-screened Chun-Li. It was kind of fun to put that together. Compiling the sound effects was annoying because there's no Street Fighter sound effects available online, so I had to hook up my old SNES to my computer and just rip some sound effects directly from that. But yeah, the F1 key actually is a Mugen character that you can use if you seek it out. And he basically kills everybody. It's just a one-shot kill. A completely pointless character. There are many scenes in the export where the music would slip off a beat, and my voiceover and my music wouldn't match what I did before. And this was one of the most popular places for it to happen during that whole Kengyu Superstar Maneuver section. And I had to just keep exporting and exporting and exporting, just like keep giving it the old college try, and just completely at random, it'll just insert mistakes and hiccups and just all out mar your profile till it's not recognizable anymore. Originally, I was going to do this profile in 4 pieces: the part with the book flipping the pages, the part with the coloring book and the crayon art style, the whole body of it, and of course the ending, which has more flipping pages. In the end, just to get this version that we're watching right now that might or might not even be done, 18 parts. This is 18 little mini movies slapped together, and I haven't even really, gave this the last watch to see if there's anything wrong with this version. I'm hoping there isn't. Maybe you'll see this on YouTube as I speak, but I'm almost scared to look because of all the mistakes that have been happening beyond my control. Coming up is another section where the flipping pages come into play, and this is yet another area that gave me trouble. Doing a page flip effect is really simple. It's just like putting a fade into your program. You just have 2 clips, you stick it in between, and it flips from one image to the next. I did it in my Hinako ni no Miya profile, you might remember. With an Intel graphics card, access denied. And that is one of the most basic effects that I have. I had it with Pinnacle Studio 10, for crying out loud, the first editing software I ever owned. And it would not let me do this effect. So what you're seeing, this page flip here, is just me bending the screen and coming up with my own flip effect. Like I had to curl the screen manually and spread it across. But what made that more difficult is that I'm dealing with multiple layers. I have a picture on top of a picture, so I have to make sure that they both curl in unison, which was very, very difficult, very painstaking, and very time-consuming. All for an effect that, if I had the NVIDIA card back, it would have taken me 2 seconds to do this whole fade effect. So it was completely infuriating, this profile. Just all the different hardships that I had to face while putting this one together. This one was definitely not fun, and it should have been. All the pieces were fun to put together, but just like I said before, the glue just didn't hold. I feel like a week ago, this profile should have been finished because all the pieces were there. It's just getting them to stick together. It was just not working. And I don't know. I don't know how to get around this. I'm going to have to get myself a new graphics card, and I hope that solves the problem, but I'm foreign to this whole computer thing, so that might be the problem, the graphics card. It might not be the problem. I don't know. For all I know, I'll have a brand new graphics card put in, and I'll have some other problem, some new problem that I did not count on. But anyway, I should say a little bit of something about that ending. It's not very often that I go beyond the RANMA 1/2 character profile, the epilogue there. But I decided to put a little spoiler alert into this profile, something that I've been doing a lot lately, because I never really explained the Kengyu Superstar Maneuver, and I like to try to keep these profiles complete as far as I want to explore every aspect of the character, and I just wanted to stick this in there so I covered that base, but people could tune out if they didn't want to know. If you have a keen eye, you might notice in the middle of this profile, a little disclaimer comes on the bottom of the screen where it says, "Looking for answers, page 36. And then that's exactly the page that flips up when the spoiler alert comes up, and I explain the Kengyu Superstar Maneuver. So, just a little something to keep your eyes busy. So anyway, this is your good buddy Djclyve, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy, bidding you adieu for another week on Dailymotion. I'd better quit while I'm ahead because this is turning out to be the longest character profile commentary of all time. I suppose I should go watch this Kengyu, the Herder Star profile to see if there are any more hiccups and if it's ready to post on YouTube. But I'm scared. I'm so scared. I don't want to do this profile anymore. I just want to stop. It's a heartbreak, and I just want to choke myself as I do it because it's just, oh, good God. I am so ready to leave this character behind, for the evening of the 7th to be over, for it to be the evening of the 8th, so he can go back and across the Milky Way, never to be seen again. Alrighty. Life is RANMA, everybody, and wish me luck.